Sandi Clarkson here with you today, sharing a process video for My Creative Scrapbook using the June limited edition kit, which features primarily the 49 and Market Flower Emporium collection, along with a whole bunch of other goodies that are in the kit. And there's a full unboxing video on my channel if you missed that already, and I'll show you everything in the kit on that video. So anyway, here you can see that I'm using the paper with the big white dots on the blue background, and I think I mentioned in my unboxing that reminds me of an old 7 dots paper that I am still hoarding because I really loved it so much. But I decided here to add on a horizontal piece, and I chose that blue ledger paper or notebook type paper and tore away part of it so I could have a horizontal piece to go underneath my photos and create an additional photo mat. I believe I have already matted my photo, and it is one of my daughter and son-in-law when they had a renewal of their wedding vows at Punta Cana a few years ago. And anyway, I also wanted to take the opportunity to use the cut file that came in the kit, which I think I had failed to mention it in one of my earlier videos. But anyway, I'm using it as is without backing it. I was able to line it up with a couple of those white dots on the blue background that were close enough together that they filled in the 2 O's and the word good. So anyway, I've just used my berry glue there to put adhesive on the back, and there I'm just kind of checking my alignment before it dries completely. And then I can see that I have already matted my photo. I did that with a 3x4. Well, it's bigger than a 3x4. It was one of the pieces that I showed you earlier that was on the back of the laser cut pack. And it's a real nice piece, but it gave me a little bit of color to add in and to mat their photo with. And then I took that lacy bit that's in the laser cut pack, and I added a portion of it to the bottom of my photo and thought about adding another layer, but decided that was too much. And then here you can see me just distressing the photo mat and the lace bit with a little bit of vintage photo to make everything pop. And then I had a pre-cut doily using a die from my stash and put that back behind my photo. And then I fiddle a little bit with a floral cluster. This is one of the florals from the ephemera pack. And, I kind of go back and forth trying to decide if I want the flowers in the front or the die cut in the front. But in the end, I opt for using the florals in the front. And then I start bringing in some of the other elements to look at and audition. And I do want to add in some yellow sunflowers. I had mentioned in a previous video, but that sunflowers are kind of a thing in my son-in-law's family. And so I did add in some yellow to this project, not because it needed it, but just because of him. And it also kind of went with the little mixed media that's in the upper left and the lower right of the piece of paper. And this is a collection, if I haven't already mentioned, that's designed by Vicki Boutin, and I love how they've taken Vicki's bright style and merged it with the 49 and Market aesthetic, and it just really makes a wow kind of collection. And I just wanted to use every single paper, every single item. I'm all done with my 4 layouts, but I still have lots of ephemera left and paper, and I could probably get another couple of layouts out of what I'm receiving in my kit. So you'll be able to make plenty of whatever you want. I understand that this collection is just selling out everywhere, so I hope you're subscribed to the Kit Club, or you're able to order a kit from Pam before they do sell out. So anyway, here I'm just, I have finally decided on how I want that cluster to be, and I put some corrugated cardboard behind my photo, knowing that I was going to be doing a little bit of tucking here and there. And then I used my T-square just to kind of check my alignment. And by the eyeball and by the lines on that rule of paper, I think I'm good. And so most of the video, as I pre-watched it before doing my voiceover, there's a lot of fiddling in terms of trying to figure out where I want my elements to be. And I think I was just having fun, having a good play, wanting it to be just so-so. And I think this was my second layout, so I still had plenty to choose from. And so I was just wanting to make this one kind of extra special since it is a wedding layout. And there I'm choosing some of the whitish, peachish florals. And my daughter's bouquet was peach, a coral, and I didn't find that exact tone. There is kind of some flowers in the ephemera pack that are a little bit like that, but I really liked these the best, so I went with these flowers. And then, I was deciding on some leafy bits to go along with everything. And I'm using foam squares to adhere the flowers for the most part. I do use my berry glue in some instances. And then I come back for another one of those polka dot greenery pieces because the cluster over on the right had the polka dot ones. And some of the other greenery I had already set aside for a couple of other projects. And so it just worked out perfectly for me. As I work, my cluster kind of gets bigger and bigger. It actually gets bigger even after I show you my closing shots, because I go back and add some flat back pearls, and I splatter on some saltwater taffy distress ink along with the white that you had seen me splash at the end of the video. But I just keep adding to this cluster right here, and I do want to get those yellow bits in, so they have to be in there as well. And I like the little black and white pieces. I think they were just a nice touch, and they kind of mimic for me maybe something like baby's breath or whatever that you might find in a pretty bouquet. And I'm choosing that blue butterfly to go over on the left-hand side. And, I fiddle a little bit about where exactly I want him to be, but, I do want him to be there. Later, and I think off camera, I do add a dark blue butterfly over on the right-hand side near that right-hand cluster. Now you see me coming in with this little cluster of white flowers that I'm trying to put up above the bird. And I do end up not keeping it there, but I want to just kind of decorate the cut file even though I'm not backing it. And I'm choosing one of the chipboard scallop pieces that's in the chipboard kit. And I'm just kind of using it as something to set my bird and other elements on. So I'm going to use my berry glue there to adhere that, even though that's not a spot you would probably normally do that, but I thought that worked really well. And then I'm choosing one flower there, and then I'm going to put the bird, and I'm auditioning those flowers again. I'm really determined to use them there because on one of my trials I thought it looked really good. In the end, I do choose to put that cluster over on the left, kind of underneath those, I want to call them baby breath pieces. And it looks really better over there. But you can see me fiddle and work with that, even think about putting it over to the left of the title. And I did several different times try to put something to the left of the title, but there you see it going in where it ultimately is going to live. And I really like it there. It kind of fills out that cluster. And then here I'm coming back in with the peachy coral flower and even some leaves and greenery, but I ultimately decided that's just a little bit too much as far as, trying to decorate that title piece. So there, whew, I got the adhesive on there. It's going in there and it's going to stay. So I'm going to elevate my pieces on some foam squares just to pop them up a little bit. I want the bird to just kind of be floating there on top of the flower. And I'm just going to say he's a seagull, even though we don't really know. He doesn't look much like one, but I'm going to think in those terms since I know they were taking their vows on the beach. And there you see me experimenting with the yellow. I do find a place for it in the end, but I think I'm off camera when I do that. I did choose 2 hearts from the ephemera pack, kind of a blue one and kind of a peach one. And that's just going to be my feminine and masculine hearts for this layout. I do play around with where they're going to go, but then I decided they would look really nice there right below the cluster, but mounted onto the photo itself. Now I try that yellow butterfly a lot. I even bring in that pink one, but in the end I do choose one that's more in the blue family tone. I will be putting details in the description box below about how to order a kit and everything that is contained in the kit. I do have a video, an unboxing video that you can watch that published on June the 4th, beg your pardon. And here I am still experimenting with my butterflies and just how my yellow flowers are going to go in there. I'm sorry I'm a little bit off camera there, but I was trying to position that yellow flower and a little bit of greenery that I wanted to add in. That just makes that cluster a little fuller and looks a little bit more realistic with that greenery in the background. So I'm sorry that was a little bit off camera. And then I'm going to add in some more of the black and white ephemera, which is really nice. There are some elements in the kit that you could colorize yourself if you want your flowers to be custom matched to your photo or any other element on your page. And then I play with that little laser cut piece. I think that's from the laser kit. It might be from the die cut kit, but I think it's from the laser pack. And it says love, and I want it to be, or it says hello. And it's going to go right up above the bride and groom. So there's my yellow. I'm going to say it's a sunflower. Right there, it's not making the cut, but it does. Yes, it does say love on there. So I wasn't quite sure where I wanted that to go. I thought it would be nice up there, but they're kind of designed to go at the top of a page or a banner or whatever you might have, and so that's where I do end up placing it. And I'm trying my hardest to get in a little cluster around this bird, and so I do ultimately work up some leaves to go over there, and I do choose a yellow flower in the end, although I'm auditioning that pink one right there. I'm just having a good play this month. I didn't get to design last month, and so it feels good to be back at my scrapbook table and sit and fortunately have a kit with so many options in it. The papers are really good. There's just so many unique designs or things that I haven't seen out there in a while. So I could use doubles of all these papers. They're just really nice and so well done. So I'm choosing those little camouflage-like leaves to go in this cluster because I thought they would match nicely with those polka dot ones in the other 2 floral clusters. I'm really not doing any mixed media on this page either. I do splatter with my white glossy paint, and then I do splatter with saltwater taffy, as I said a moment ago, but that's the only mixed media that I use. I think I'm having to tiptoe into the mixed media mindset after taking a break for a few weeks. So there's plenty of butterflies in this kit, but I'm just kind of being, I guess, particular about what colors I want here, since I am going to be giving this layout to my daughter, and I want it to, look really nice for her, so she can put it in her photo album, or her scrapbook album, actually, or she can set it up to display in the house. I do want to add in a yellow flower over there beside my bird, which you'll see me do in a minute, but I'm putting down a foam square beneath that little piece that I'm calling baby's breath, just so it won't stick up. It was inclined to kind of lift a little bit, and so that pink floral right there just fills that in, and it's going to fill in also over there on the left. I just needed to bring it down a smidge. And then I think it's off camera that I add in the yellow to go beside it. I do also add some flat back pearls, not too many, but just some various sizes that I had in my stash to kind of complement the page. I do have to trim that flower a little bit before I get it to fit in there just exactly like I want to, just because of size. So there's my Dina Wakley gloss spray. And of course I'm going to cover my photo before I start to splatter. And then I do spend a good length of time splattering, and so I did edit my video so you don't have to watch all of it, but I do go all around the page, and of course I have to use the cover that I have over the photo so I can get over there to the left. But I took my time with the splattering and got it around, and then came back later after that was dry and added the soft water taffy. Alright, that's all of it, and here's my completed page and my close-up. As I said, details are below, and I thank you so much for coming by and visiting my channel today. If you like what you saw, hit a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more of my content. Bye-bye. I'll see you guys on the next video.